Hi guys, this is Toby. I want to do the look at volume trading, volume-based trading, and as well as with two other indicators called the MacD, and this is called a CCI. And this is Thinkorswim. And so I've been studying volume-based trading for a long time now, and I think it's really key. Um, but sometimes I still have trouble just by looking at volume by itself, and whether I can't tell whether it's going to keep on going up, the price is going to keep up, like keep going up, like, or if it's going to do a reversal based on volume itself. Um, so while volume is an indicator, a really good indicator by itself, I have trouble with it to tell, 100% consistently whether it's working or not. In fact, to make predictions whether price is going to start going down or continue up. Um, so what doing is looking at other indicators, the MacD and the CCI. My buddy Kyle Roberts looks at CCI and MacD, and so I've been looking at that, and I think he's onto something. So when you combine the three of them, it makes for a pretty good system. If you just look at the MacD without any volume, or if you just look at the CCI with any volume, or you just look at both of them, it doesn't really tell you. You could just get, if you don't look at volume, you can get faked out. So if you look at the MacD indicators, just by themselves, you can get false peaks and real peaks, and false valleys and real valleys. And so what I'm doing is, like, I'm looking at the MacDs and the CCIs to tell if it's peaks or valleys, and then I'm eliminating the false peaks and false valleys by looking at the volume. If there's no volume, then it's considered a false valley. So in my coloring scheme, I have um, the peaks up here in green. You can see that these are like literally the peaks from here to here somewhere. That's somewhere there. There's the peak. Here's a peak. This green dot's a peak. That green dot's a little peak, mini peak. Um, that's a peak. That's a peak. And then the valleys are the blue valley, 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 valley. Okay, and what I've done was highlighted in the like this pink color, major volume spikes. You can see that these guys here are taller compared to here, but here it's got pretty good width. You got like maybe medium volumes, but there's a whole bunch of them. One, two, three, four, five, six medium volumes in a row. Like we're over here, you might only have two medium volumes. Here's like a lone soldier all by itself. Here's only two volumes, so you can see that even though these might be a little bit smaller than say these over here, there's a broad. It's like people are buying, or selling. There's a lot of volume going on here, so this is a legitimate one. Um, and then over here too, I put in between these volumes, like here's the volumes, then there's a red bar, there's a lone soldier volume, red bar going across, meaning there's like low volume going on. Volume, then this long red bar, long period of time with no volume. Here's a lone soldier volume, another lone soldier volume, and then a red bar. So you can see the red bars indicate that periods of no low volume. And so then I extended, to make it visual, I put these red bars down here in the CCIs and the MacD. Okay? And so the way you can tell if there's a false valley, like if you there's a valley here and a valley here. The reason this is a valley is because, well, you can see it's at the bottom of the chart, and there's this red line here that's automatic, is part of the CCI, and so you can see that this is a valley because it's below the red bar, and that's a valley because it's low. So the valleys are just, you can see it's consistently. You got the red lower line, and then if that gold line breaks down below it, that means it's a valley, right? And then conversely, if there's the blue upper line or red upper line, I'm not sure which one's the best one, but you can tell that that's a peak because these gold and green lines are above the upper 80% line or whatever it is. So there you can tell this is a peak and that's a peak and that's a peak and that's a peak and that's a peak. Now, how do we tell a false peak? Well, see this peak here is underneath the red line, so that's a false peak. Now, what that means is, if you look up here at the price, like it is a sort of like this little mini peak, and that's my point exactly. It's just a little mini peak, So if you're like, hey, looking just at this CCI here, you're gonna say, hey, it's a peak. I need to sell, or if I own the stock, I need to sell, or if it's if I want to do a short, like it's that peak, I can do a short. But the problem is that this is really a false peak because it is a tiny little peak, but then it kind of goes sideways and then hips back up again. So here's how if you just look at the CCI by itself without looking at volume, you can get faked out. Okay. So same thing with this MacD over here. So see how the red bars are, let's look at the MacD, sorry. So the blue again indicates it's a valley, and you got these red bars going down, these red vertical bars going down, and then it reverses and the red bars switch to greens or whatever. And so you say, well, is that a real valley or is it a false valley? Well, over here at the volume, you'll see it's real volume, and so now you know that that's a real valley, and it's going to start going up. And sure enough, the next one, you got the red bars going down, and it's a real valley because it's during a period of volume. That's a real valley. Now the next one, I got it highlighted in blue because the same reason, the red bar is going down. And it's reversed, but this is a false valley because there's a red line here. So right here, I mean, it is a valley, but it's really kind of like a mini valley. It's something that you really can't count on because if you look at the volume, it's really small volume. The peaks on the MacD down here I've highlighted with the big green rectangle box. And so what you're kind of looking at is, maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. You see how these green bars are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden you got a light green bar to a dark green bar right there. See, it's dark green right there. That's kind of an indication that it's changing, it's reversing. And then you got another dark green bar there, and then this time it's definitely reversing. So this is during a period of high volume, so that's a literal peak. So if you'd bought in down here, now here's a good time to get out based on this volume right here. Make sense? So again, this one right here, it says it's a valley, but it's a false valley. Because it's relatively low volume. So I think you can see the system. It's better. It's not 100%. If you look, let's look at the peaks. Like this peak right here. If you look down here, there's only one lone soldier. If you look at the CCI, one lone soldier volume bar. Now let's look at the CCI. The gold and green lines are sort of in the middle. That doesn't really tell you anything. Now we look at MacD. Those red bars and horizontal bars. I guess it is going across the middle line, going from greens down across the middle line to reds. So there is a changeover from here to here. And the other thing you should notice, this is probably I'm rescaling a little bit so you can see it. You see how there's a green line and a purple line, right? And so like when the green line is above the purple line, that means the price it's an uptrend. Green is higher, and then they cross, and so now it means Now the purple is above the green, so that means it's a downtrend. And then there's a period where they're like really close together. That means it's a sideways trend. So when you look over here at this peak here, you can kind of tell that they're close together, and that means they're going sideways. And then all of a sudden, the green is on the bottom of the purple. That tells you it's going to start going down. So this is another way to use the MacD to tell it's a peak. So we can put a green bar here, green rectangle here, to say, hey, that means it's a peak, and the price is going to go down. So that's the result of that lone soldier right there. Okay, so look at the next peak up here. Lots of volume. The CCI tells you right there. CCI tells you it's a peak, and then these green bars tell you it's a peak. So, okay, guys, that's the end of the video.